Going live?
29.
Yep, 6:30. According to, right.
Okay, it's 6:30. Let's go ahead and call this meeting to order. Call please, Mitch.
Elthon,
Here.
Dr. Melhouse. Here. Stephen,
Here.
Richard,
Here.
Dr. Nystrom is absent.
Recognition of visitors. Do we have a doors of order or anything?
We do not have one this month.
Okay. We'll move on to consideration of the agenda. Anything to add or any changes?
No changes. Recommend the agenda as printed.
Okay, any questions? Otherwise, I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
Been moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, hearing of delegations. We got Greg who's an agenda item and Jim, so we'll move on to routine business. Okay,
I move to accept the items in the routine business, except for in current bills, a bill for purchase for $1,529.84.
been moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further questions?
Mitch, did you go those two corrections I had about?
Are you good, Doc?
Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Barring any further questions, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I move to pay the bill for purchase for $1,529.84.
Motion, is there a second?
Yeah. Second.
Been moved and second. Any questions? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Richard will abstain. Okay. On to number one. So let's see here. It's 6:32. We'll go ahead and open a public hearing for the 22-23 school calendar. Julie?
Yes, for the purpose of the hearing, anyone that's listening, I don't see anyone here. The results from the parent survey that we had wanted to do from the last meeting, if you recall, we had some feedback from staff, but had not had it from our parent population at that time. So that is what is listed under that agenda item for the hearing. 73.8% of the parents favored draft 2, which was the draft that the staff favored. 26.2 said they preferred draft 1, which is the most similar to our draft now. So the draft being proposed would be draft 2 for the 22-23 school year.
That was the one with a few less hours.
That had less hours, but more built-in snow days and insured, and 2 early release dates instead of the 1. And so so the parents' feedback was 73.8% favored that one as well.
Mitch, anything written or online?
No comments or nothing written.
No public here. So it is 6:33. We'll go ahead and close the public hearing. We'll move on to number 2, which is action on the 22-23 school calendar. Any questions from the board? Otherwise, is anything else to discuss, Julie?
No, just that we're recommending draft 2 be the calendar that we adopt. That's our recommendation from the district.
I move to accept draft 2 of the calendar for the 22-23 school year.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further questions, discussion?
I'm just going to make comments. It was nice to see the public agreed with kind of how the teachers and stuff
Yeah.
came up with it. It was just nice. Everybody was on the same page on that front. So
Makes it a little easier.
It
Agreed.
does make it a lot easier. Yeah.
Anything else? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So I think we're on to number 3, which is Mr. Picklap.
I'm in your house now, so what do I do?
Come up here so we can
Come up
see you
here
on
so- in
camera.
front of the camera. Yeah,
Which way's the camera?
on the wall there.
it's on the wall.
So, thank you very much for the time today. I'm really here just to answer any questions you might have as elected officials, district staff, regarding the proposed rec center. As you well know, as I'm sure many of you seen on social media, there are a lot of rumors going on right now. There will be bathrooms. There will be showers. There will be multiple entrances for handicap accessibility. The things about this is mostly we're just doing a presentation. My counterparts on the other half of the YES committee that I represent are at the city park board meeting right now. So I got you guys, which I'm very thrilled about compared to the other option right now. A thing about this is a facility that's planning to open December 2024. We are on track and budget. We have confirmed the numbers with a 5% cushion. So we have that as well. We've already adjusted the materials once because of cost overruns, as you well know, for materials and construction. We've already adjusted once, and it was over 20% change that we had before. So we've already compensated for once, and we built in another 5% cushion before the building of the facility. Thing about this is that we reached out, you know about Fairway's recent pledge of $2 million. We're also reaching out to other private donors. We're also having discussions with the state IEDA and also the USDA. So those are also ongoing as well. The thing about this location in the downtown, I know that's been a hot topic as well. The one good thing about the Y everyone liked was the location being centered to the community and close to the high school. Kids could go here and go there and bounce back and forth. So the thing about this is having a central location in the downtown is centrally located for the entire community and at the same time still close to the high school facility as well. So we can share resources as well with our basketball courts and proposed facility needs. So I'm going to have these boards here with the same pictures that are online. Is there any questions? I can pass them around if you like.
We got a question.
Yes.
Can you explain the franchise fee, what it is, how it works?
There seems to be confusion on that. It just, how it's going to be used to, what it is basically.
Okay. So every community that has a private utility supplier, whether it's Mid-America, Alliant, what have you, is allowed to have up to a 5% franchise fee for their community. And that franchise fee is an option those communities have to have access for those companies to service the customers with the right-of-ways. So the public right-of-ways throughout the community, the ditches, that space between the sidewalk and the street, that is city property that we allow them use of. And in return, we charge a franchise fee for maintaining streets, infrastructure, things like that. The last time the community raised the franchise fee was 1% in 2014, and that was used for things like public safety, streets, sewer, water, things like that. We're proposing a 2% increase, which on average for the average bill, which is about $20 a month, is about $4 approximately a month as well. So over the span of the entire bond, which is set for 15 years, you will spend roughly $4 a month for the 15 years of the bond. When the bond ends, the franchise fee ends as well, because we have to have a dedicated use for the franchise fee as a community. We just can't pass a franchise increase without a dedicated reason. The dedicated reason is going to be the rec center. So the 2% is going to the rec center. It doesn't get diverted to parks or library or anything else. So once the 2% passes, it's going straight to the rec center needs.
What is the exact language they're voting on?
What's that?
What is the exact language that they're voting on?
The exact language? The exact language on the bond is whether or not to approve a $10 million facility. The city bonding attorney would not allow the city to put 2% on that because the city council has to vote on that at a public meeting as well. So you can't have a public vote without another public vote. So, but this council and mayor have been adamant. This does not happen without the 2%. So if the community at large votes for a $10 million facility, council will vote for a 2%. If the community doesn't vote for the $10 million facility, then the 2% vote goes away as well.
The other question I have, what is your cost per square foot? So in other words, $10 million. How many square foot are you going to be able to get at based on, say, what we just had to bond for?
So our two construction methods are different. We're going with a modular style for our facility with a lot less classroom and interior wall structures. Our modular construction, we have a 51,000 square foot facility. That 51,000 square foot facility is going to be based on three major parts: the aquatic center, the gym section, and the upper level around the track. So altogether, we have a $10 million budget with a 5% cushion. And we've already taken out, like the previous example was the apartments. We shrunk the footprint. And with us not having to pay for concrete for parking, we were able to save that cost as well. So all the budget on the 10 million is going straight into the facility itself, outside of that sliver of new parking we're putting on the east side.
So bond March 1st, and then what's your timeline up to your opening on,
December 24th.
December 24th.
move right into design or?
Yes.
Has something been done or?
Yes, the specs you see here is the initial stuff. And the company we have already started preliminary stuff on it, but they're not billing us for it because they've had to do it anyway for our virtual tours and everything else in our specs. The thing about this is our total election cost so far is $3,000. The total cost up to, I say for virtual specs, anything done is only $15,000. So altogether, it's going to be $18,000 max.
But when would a hypothetical groundbreaking be?
Groundbreaking is scheduled for October this year.
Okay.
So as soon as the bond passes, the franchise fee process starts, which takes a couple months in itself. Once that starts, will probably be May, June. And then we start into the design specs and everything else with the groundbreaking. And they're going out to bid January of 23. That's our current timetable.
I have a couple comments just so you can kind of clarify to the community as well too. I know that another one of those fun ones is the pool size and the concern with the pool. I just want you to reiterate on that size again and kind of the size there is going to be a pool. And then my second question would be the YMCA, a lot of benefit to some of that was for younger families with daycare wise. I know that wasn't feasible for this aspect, but I think there's rumor maybe some space for like a YSS or something potentially to help fill some of those spots for some of that void. Is that correct?
Yes. So two-part question. First part of the question is the pool aquatic center, the general pool area alone is bigger than the old Y pool. So we have two dedicated lap lanes with a general pool area. In addition to that, there's also the splash pad, zero entry, plus a hot tub therapy, which the hospital has expressed interest in partnering with us on. And then on the other side of it, to your childcare, there's going to be two options. Two options. One is one of the commercial retail spaces is going to be used with a private provider, to option a space of if you're going to use a membership, you get a discount for dropping your child off for a couple hours while you work out. Those type of partnerships are all over the state of Iowa. And we have examples of that too, to provide options as well. YSS is another option. They reached out to us as well, wanting to talk about potentially partnering with us on the facility because as you all know, YSS lost a huge resource with the Y, and also YSS is a huge part of this community. So they've come out and full-throated support this effort, but they are talking partnership as well.
So the lap pool, how long will it be?
What's that?
How long will the lap pool be?
I knew you were going to ask me that. The lap pools are the same length as and 5 foot wide with regulation length. So the same long ways as the old YMCA. And then they're going to be 5 foot wide on the two dedicated lanes. So, and everything else is the general entry area, not including the ADA ramp.
So, I mean,
So when I say the ADA ramp, it doesn't include general pool activities.
so are you gonna be able to ADA ramp down to the lap pool?
To the lap pool?
Yeah.
Yes. So the ADA ramp, I got a picture of it here. So in this picture here, this is where the hot tub, the splash pad, and this is where the ADA lap are right here. So the shallow end would be here, and then it would get to the deeper end over here. Now, a concern has been on the splash pad area with the kids. There is going to be a fencing or a mesh there that prevents the kids from walking into the deep end. So it's not going to be just a straight path over. But the ADA compliance is going to be the same. Try to keep that falling. The ADA ramp is going to be able to give them access for the handicap accessible to have full use for aerobics, therapy needs, and things like that. And our general pool is going to have a 10-degree switch. So if it has to be warmed up for senior citizen aerobics, it can, and then it can be dropped to a normal pool for normal day use.
What type of businesses have expressed interest?
On the commercial retail side? So on the commercial retail side, we've had everything from financial to nutritional to massage therapy. We've had also interest as well to use it for, I want to say it's nutritionist, but it's more along the lines of general health living. So it's outside of general health. It's also aerobics plans, that kind of thing as well. The target of the city council, current elected officials, has been to focus on businesses and operations working alongside the rec center. So if they want to work there and partner with the rec center on programming, great. If they all want to work on something else, then it has to be something that works with the downtown. But the whole point of the retail commercial space is to generate revenue for the operations, to be less operational needs for the taxpayers.
What was the membership cost? Have you determined that?
So the proposed fees for the membership is lower than the Y by about $30 a month. And then we start at 65 and then they vary depending on singles, couples, senior citizens. Checking into Plan B silver sneaker plans, those are pretty much all across the given board. If you have a standard Plan B medical plan for retired seniors, see if silver sneakers or comparable plans included, these can be used for these facilities. So that's an option that's for retired people as well. But we also have day passes for $5 a piece. You can rent the pool for $100. You can use it, daily pass for $5. If you want to shoot baskets, then go in the pool, that's option as well. So everything else. County residents outside the city limits will have a higher fee than city residents. And that is because we're being asked as city residents to carry the franchise fee. They get the discount rate. Now, we're taking another pass at the county supervisors to try to talk with them about a partnership. If that changes, county residents can get the same discount rate. But right now, it's the city residents are carrying the franchise fee that we're asking, they get a discount rate compared to other people.
And I noticed on Facebook, there was a question about the times that it was going to be open from when to when.
Yeah, we don't even have a building. So,
Yeah.
So right now, we're planning 7 to 8 p.m., but there's going to be 6 and 12-month reviews of operations. So within the first year to 2 years, there's going to be 6-month reviews and 12-month reviews and operations to tweak things as they happen. Some people have asked for 24/7 weights. Some people have asked for track access if they all they want to do is walk and they work the morning shift and they're a night owl. So those things are going to be adjusted as needed. The thing about this facility is it is all security based on webcams and security cams. We're planning a fob system for membership, and it's going to be a lot of central control on the. I don't think I have it. But the thing about that is in the central lobby area, when you walk in the main doors, there's going to be what we call a command and control center. So staff is not going to have the dark corners of the old Y in the basement or other areas. They're going to be able to look 360 at the facility at the main doors. So it can be used much more efficiently with a lot less staff.
Will this have its own director or will it fall under someone else's scope at the city or how's it going to be?
Planning a director itself, planning 2 part-time employees minimum for 35 hours apiece. DMAC is talking to us about an internship program for their sports authority. And then also to Iowa State is also expressed interest. So they're another option as well. The thing about staffing is we know it's going to fluctuate. We got lifeguards, if someone wants spin classes, things like that are going to change. But we really want to have a rec director at least in place before we start planning that operation needs. Because if we don't have that in first, we could plan for 10 people and have 5. They don't know. So that's the next step. After the bond passes, they start looking for a rec director to fill the need first.
Okay.
Also too, about the facility, on this facility needs, it's going to be based on a seasonal thing. We expect the winter months to be much more high usage than the summer months and vice versa. It'll even out on the revenue side of the members, but we expect that fluctuation as well. And we're going to need at least 2 years to figure that out.
Other questions?
Great questions. I really appreciate the great questions and the civility here compared to what I've been facing on Facebook at the moment. So if you have any further questions, please reach out to us. We're on Facebook. We have that as well. If you have any questions or anyone comes out to you asking questions, direct them to us. And we're more than happy to answer those as well. So,
By the way, it's 75 feet.
what's that?
Pool length should be 75 feet,
75 feet.
25 yards.
Yeah. So I knew you were going to ask me the length of the lanes, and I should have just texted Terry because he would have been able to tell you off the top of his head. But I deal with the conceptual and the operation side of it. So
Can you clear one more thing up for me?
yes.
Why don't you remodel the old Y? I'm just teasing, Greg. You know that.
I want to take up your next time talking about the.
I've seen that one asked a lot.
Yes. So, as you know, speaking from personal experience, renovating old is infinitely more expensive than building new sometimes. So our old numbers on the Y from 2019 was 4 to 6 million minimum. And that was without expanding the service needs, ADA needs, and also electrical needs as well. Times that by 25-30%, which we've seen increase, we're already at 8 to 8.5 million. And then if you add that, you're getting dangerously close to the 10 million we're proposing for this facility. It's out there, but I get it. So thank you. Thank you, Jeremy.
I'm gonna throw a softball out there, just for the record.
Just for the record. Yes, thank you very much for the time. I appreciate it. You all have a good evening.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you, Greg.
I got, that was, why don't we remodel Lincoln? I got asked that 100 times.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so on to number 4, Boone High School update.
You're up, John. He's gonna come in front of the cameras too.
All right. Are you gonna connect or? Oh,
Yeah.
Are you driving?
No,
All right, Mitch.
Mitch is driving.
All right, so we put together the snapshot. We're gonna cover 3 primary areas. Mitch, we go to the next slide.
Ooh, nope, I gotta click.
Nope.
That mode up there.
Let me present.
Yeah.
Is that it? I can't see. Here we go.
All right, so the 3 areas we're gonna cover today is kind of our work that we've put into SRG so far this year. Some of our culture and climate things we've focused on based on our HRS survey, and then our effective teaching strategies based on the Marzano instructional framework. So first, we have done a lot of work with proficiency scales in our classrooms. Our PLCs continue to expand their knowledge of those and continue to build their proficiency scales for next year and improve on what they've done this year. Primarily linking their teaching to the standards and making sure that we're assessing what we want our students to know. We also have an SRG committee, and I'm going to talk more about committees here once we get towards the end of this presentation, so I don't want to spend a ton of time on it right now, but we have done some different looks at what expectations we have for students. I don't know how familiar you are with the argument of the behavior versus the academic grade, and so we've spent a lot of time talking about that as a group, and we'll get to that once we talk about the committee here in a little bit. And then, as I mentioned, one of the first times I spoke to this group, we have our lunch intervention system. Students that are missing assessments or missing work come up to the library during lunch and are able to get their work done, provides an additional support for them. Again, as an effort to separate our behavior grade from our academic grade. You can go ahead. All right, this is one of the first things we wanted to focus on as a staff when I was hired was improving our culture and climate in the building. This is HRS level 1 stuff. You think about it, a kid in your classroom who hasn't been fed or doesn't feel safe at home isn't going to learn. In your classroom, it's the same idea for staff. If you don't feel safe or valued or comfortable as a staff member, you're not going to be meeting your full potential. So one of the first things we wanted to work on as a building was making sure that we valued the culture and the teachers and professionals that we have in the building, that we also celebrate our students and staff. So we developed these 2 goals this summer with our leaders. So the first one states that staff know how to raise concerns and they know who to go to and they know that those are being handled. And then the second one is that we as a whole school recognize individuals, group successes and student successes. So I broke it down, a couple of things we've done. We have our committees. So teachers can raise complaints or concerns or things that they want improved to their committee members. We have a SRG committee, we have a diversity, equity, inclusion committee, we have a communication logistics committee, and we have an MTSS committee. And so if your concern is in one of those avenues, then you talk with that committee or you join that committee and try to solve your problem yourself, which is what we prefer. We also have our BLT, which is our building leadership team. They're made up of our PLC leads. So what we've done a really good job of this year as a staff is if you have a concern, you share it with your BLT, then as a group, we have a conversation around it as a building. We actually voluntarily collected those around November, asking for whatever was bothering you, kind of a what grinds your gears sort of conversation so that we could lift those problems up and solve them. We also created a formal help desk with Levi helped us do that, which we appreciate. It hasn't gotten a ton of usage, which I, as the internal optimist, I'm going to take as people don't have a need to formalize complaints. They feel like they're being dealt with otherwise. But we do have a help desk ticket option for staff to submit kind of that, work ticket sort of mentality. Goal number 2, if you're on our Instagram or Facebook, you see our top Toreadors in the high school. We recognize a staff member every Friday, sometimes Monday, when we get carried away on our Fridays, but we recognize a staff member. We carry around a big cutout Victor. We run into the classroom and hoot and holler and disrupt the learning and make a big show of it. And we post it on social media, and then it's that staff member's job to put something new on Victor, and he kind of travels around, so he looks really ridiculous at this point of the year. We also do a student of the month, which we share monthly. We've honed in on our process. We're actually pretty proud of it. We really try to recognize students that go above and beyond. We have a statement that we share. We send out the form to staff members to get a short list, so to speak, and then as a committee, we isolate the ones that we think rise to the top based on who was recommended, and then those staff members who recommend those students write personalized notes to them, and we recognize them at either a Toreador assembly, which we've done 30 minutes, Mr. Bailey. We do typically, normally, we did it at Winter Formal Assembly this past Friday, but typically we do like 30-minute assemblies instead of the big long assemblies. We do a quick game. We recognize students of the month, sing our school song, play the band, and then get out. And so, were you going to say something to that?
Yeah, and just like Pearl's having like our top Total award in that group, the Total Pride Committee, there was a student group that was also created kind of organically. I know Ms. Pritchard and Ms. Burke lead that, so students are taking more pride in our building.
Yeah, and it was actually, thank you for bringing that up. This winter, right before winter break, the groups of students wanted to recognize kids that had been turning everything in on time, that weren't in lunch intervention. And so we set a 2-week window. If you get all your stuff turned in for 2 weeks, we gave out hot chocolate, candy canes, sticker, and a free voucher to Cafe Olay. And it was like we were giving away cars. So it was a great gift. Kids were lining up. They had a great time. So that was nice that the students brought that up. And I'm really glad we were able to follow through on that. I've been really impressed with Boone TV. We actually just met with them recently. They've really been putting together a lot of positive information covering as many of our activities as they can. Sometimes it gets a little overwhelming, but they've really been doing a good job covering everything. And then we do staff shout outs. We send a weekly update each week, and Mr. Bailey combines our staff shout outs or puts them together and kind of highlights which staff are appreciating one another as well. All right, effective teaching in the classroom. So this is HRS level 2. Once we take care of the culture and people feel supported, they're able to kind of work on the craft. And so what we've been doing is we provide feedback on the 43 elements of effective teaching. We have a 1-pager. If we come into a teacher's classroom and it's just a 15-minute walkthrough, we're circling all the elements we see. And they range from building relationships to working with content, to assessing students. And so we just provide feedback on there, write them a little note at the end, and then send it to them in an email. We also have professional development plans that each teacher is required to do every year. We had teachers select from the 43 elements of effective teaching, what they wanted to work on for their professional plan, and our instructional coaches do a great job meeting with teachers to help them meet their goals for as far as that plan goes. We share observation data with staff at professional developments. We also have them posted around the building in staff bathrooms and in our common areas. Ms. James found one today. Number 3, instructional coaches and administrators lead and participate in calibration walks. The calibration walks has probably been my favorite experience so far academically. Drake, Jill, Pam, and I get together and we go to 3 or 4 classrooms. And we all we mark down the instructional elements that we think we see. And then we go back to the conference room and we essentially argue about which ones we saw. But the point of the activity is to make sure we're all on the same page. So if I see a teacher building relationships with a kid that's maybe a reluctant learner, that looks the same for all of us. If we're trying to lead quality instruction, we need to make sure we know what quality instruction and relationship building looks like. And so our instructional coaches also lead teachers on learning walks to kind of do that same experience, supporting one another. So that's been some really great learning, and I hope when we get to the end of the year, that's something that the staff thinks is really beneficial as well. A couple of other things I wanted to highlight. You can click on that, Mitch, it's linked.
Great. Now where's the,
Yeah. Ooh.
Hmm.
hold on.
This is a vision test for us.
There you go.
There you go. Good deal.
Can you see the K on the top? All right, so we just, Drake actually put together some numbers from this year. So these are our current students by grade, and then we have the total number of student Fs. So that's students with an F. And so the difference between column green and red is of those 6 students in 12th grade, for example, a couple of them could have multiple Fs, and that's why there's 10 total Fs in the red column. And so we wanted to highlight some of this data because I do this as a professional. I tend to focus on the outliers. And so when we're struggling on something or we feel like something isn't going the way we want it, we tend to overgeneralize and think that that struggle is everywhere. And so these data dives are really good for me to show that we have a lot of successes going on in our building. The GPAs below, we have 37.4% of our students, 270 or 243 students in our building right now that have a 4.0 to a 3.5. I bet I know where the difference is, Mr. Bailey. Did you pull that report 4.0 to nothing?
I use unweighted.
Okay. 3 point, and then so like as you can see, it's our highest percentage by far is 3.0 but above, which is something to celebrate. When we look at standards reference grading, a lot of our expectations is to get students at least to, you know, a basic understanding of things, get to the grade level standard, and so we're really pushing them to that higher grade point average. And then our daily attendance is listed there. Were you looking at finals? Did you pull that?
I didn't put it on there, but our finals day continues to be one of our higher attended days. It's about 97.5% this school year.
We're going to talk about college and career day here in a little bit. That was also really highly attended. So, all right, you can go back to the presentation. So college and career day, all the credit goes to Megan and Lindsay and their department down there with the counseling department. They did an amazing job setting this day up. So we, in the beginning stages, we were talking about college and career fair day, and we talked about having a whole day experience. Instead of doing just one fair where we get students out in the middle of the day, we wanted to do a whole day experience. And I really think our kids bought into that. We saw tons of engagement, even from some of our kids that maybe typically wouldn't engage in some of the events we put them or we provide for them. Our course handbook website, that ended up going hand in hand with our college and career day. What we had before to what we have now, which I know I'm on the agenda here in a couple of times, so you're all really fortunate. Levi put together a wonderful operating database system for us to use to organize all that information. And we'll talk about that then. But we really saw the engagement with that website going from college and career day to the new handbook. Committees, I already mentioned our committees, but I wanted to let you know that we recently shook up our committee structure and we allowed them to re-select what committee they wanted to be on based on a problem that they needed to solve. So SRG is looking at our grading. DEI is looking at our SEL practices, our SEL competencies. Communication logistics is looking at the possibility of going to a block schedule. And MTSS is looking at our instruction at the level 1 in our classrooms that we are guaranteeing all students. And then the last thing I wanted to highlight is we got Evening of Honors coming up February 28th, where we're recognizing students that have a 3.5 in the previous 2 semesters of last year. And then we also have department awards as part of that event as well. And Booster Club offered to pay for the food for that night. Any questions for me?
I would just say thanks for communicating this stuff to us. I think as sitting up here, it's nice to get kind of a highlight of all the different buildings and stuff in our district. So thank you.
I appreciate that.
The one question I have, not the only one on the board, I mean, Jeremy was on the board when we, added the, trying to spread out the grade point by weighted grades. How did that spread? Does that spread things out much, or what if you noticed that?
That is a great question. It does spread things out. It gets students above a 4.0. I think there's still some communication we need to do with our community about the difference between weighted grades and traditional grades. But yeah, I think it raises that. We have a note about that in our handbook. It raises that rigor, that college and career readiness or college preparatory readiness for those AP classes.
Have we noticed any increase in participation in those AP classes based on that, or do you have any idea?
I haven't noticed an increase. I don't feel like I lack the Jill saying no.
I would say in AP classes, no. McIntyre's not here to speak to DMAC enrollment. I don't know if either of you two know the story of that. It's like, I'd say for our AP classes, there is a pretty steady. Maintain about the same number. Our AP classes that are in social studies that are around the same number. In science, physics 1 year, chemistry the other year, we usually have around 7 to 10 kids take the test, and we're steady with that too. So I'd say they've remained about the same, but it hasn't been a deterrent.
Okay.
What about your lunch intervention attendance? Does that vary a lot, or is it pretty steady, or?
It varies a lot. We're trying to walk a line between it being this punitive consequence where we're creating consequences for consequences and actually make it a support system for students who struggle to get work turned in. But anytime we're moving a kid from their lunch spot to up here, it's going to feel punitive. So we're still working on the piece with that.
Another thing too with lunch intervention is we see probably more attendance to our freshman and sophomore. Kind of our targets, since that's our lower kids that are probably going to go through the system with this in their daily life, compared to our juniors and seniors who've had open campus in the past, never had a lunch intervention. So their attendance is probably a little worse than our younger kids. So we hopefully can start with them and they get used to it as they go through high school.
We have been impressed with our freshman class, especially in that regard to lunch intervention.
It's a big class too, it looks like.
It is 190, 193.
Yeah. Class. Any other questions? Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. I'll be back.
Sure.
So on to number 5, fast testing update.
Yeah, so Jill's up next. She's gonna
Sorry.
fill you in on our winter fast test results.
Yes. So I'll explain the chart. It's the chart you see most of the time for me, but same group of students compared fall to winter. If you remember my spiel, at the early levels, the subject kids take changes each screening period. So there are a few different assessments that the kids take. Like for instance, first graders did sentence reading in the fall, where they just see one sentence on a page, they read it, and then you flip the page. In the winter testing, and then afterwards they do a passage that they read. So those are different tests that kind of up the ante a little bit for our kids. And then those tests are weighted differently. So it all gets rolled into a big composite at the top. But what we look very closely at with our teachers and their collaborative teams is each of those little subgroups to see, is there something in particular that our kids really seem to need that might be different than a group in the past or what's in our core.
Quick question, are your columns labeled properly? Should that be fall of 2020 and winter 2021 and then 2020 underneath
That's the
there?
one report. That got linked wrong. Can I resend another one too?
Yes,
Okay. They are labeled
I
wrong.
was just thinking the same thing.
Yep, that's winter 2021.
I looked at this,
Yeah, it's last year's.
doesn't make sense.
It's a good catch.
Good catch before I get too far into this.
Okay.
Try that again.
Got it.
Got it?
Yep.
Thank you for catching that. That's an nice reminder where our kids were last winter.
That's right.
Now it's a different group, so here we go.
Here's where we are now.
Yeah, here's where we are now. Just overall, when we look at the data, there are some things that we look at and we go, wow, that's not what we expected, particularly with our younger kids here in K1 and second grade. Those numbers are a little lower than we typically see in kindergarten and first grade at this time. And we had I think we all thought this year we're like, it's normal. So everything will just be normal. And we reflected with our teacher teams that really, though we want it to be normal, we've had a lot of kids in and out, a lot of teachers in and out, a lot of inconsistencies with being able to provide Title I or WIN supports for kids consistently because of teachers and kids in and out. And darn it, we see that in our data. So Mrs. Sealer can speak to some of the things that her teams have talked about and are working on to kind of react and respond to that data. But this is where we are, where we landed, and I think all of our teacher teams at this point, we ended our screening on February 4th. It's only been a week, but in that week, each team has already kind of had a data day. I know the middle school did their data day last Wednesday. Paige and Lincoln looked at data on February, whatever the early that was, 2nd. Yep. I believe, and then the Franklin teams have looked at their data and shuffled around their supports for kids in their WIN groups. So each grade level shows growth. The areas where we go, darn it, that's not where we want them to be yet as far as like kids at benchmark in second grade. We dig a little further and we see that we went from 54% accuracy at that word level to 78%. So we're pleased with that growth, 78% to 94%. So those are the celebrations in the data. And then we say, what do they need next? That's the reading data. And the fluency data is there on the left. That's probably the most responsive. And then we look at A reading, how they apply that to a broader measure. And this is growth in that data.
Sorry. Should you do math already?
Questions about reading before we go to math? Autumn, just want to speak to any of your data?
I feel like you spoke to a lot of it, but our teams have really analyzed it. We were really surprised because a lot of our formative data that isn't timed, so this is a timed assessment. A lot of our formative data that isn't timed looks different than this. But a lot of, we don't want to sit around and make excuses, but I do think kids not having school-wide interventions for a year was really impactful. I also think, good or not, having math with phonics instruction for 2 years has also been really hard on them. And we're seeing some more slow growths in that. And so I think we have put a ton of interventions in place because we do have all of our WIN groups up and running again. And the areas, it's especially the phonics pieces that they need to hear and see the sounds for, like word segmenting, that's historically low for us. And so we put some of those interventions in place for every WIN group every day that we have WIN time to be responsive to that. We actually did that with word segmenting across kinder and first grade. TK is also in the mix of that as well too. So there's some of those interventions that we're trying to be really responsive to, but also looking at varying pieces of data to really make a combined effort for how we're going to respond to them. So
I think that's a great reflection point that your coach and I were reflecting on today too, that I think we thought kindergartners are starting fresh with us, so they should just be like normal kindergartners, but their early childhood experience has been different as well. And this year, while we want to say it's normal, it just like normal was. So,
and if we think about our first graders, these are the pumpkins that were in preschool when we closed down. So they missed the end of preschool, and then they missed a very different kindergarten year. Many, we had some online friends, we had some on-site friends. So this is kind of the first year that's a little bit more typical, but they also experience things like mastering phonics instruction, just some of those things that, we couldn't get around, and they're a piece of the puzzle that we're working out right now too. But I do feel confident that we have WIN interventions in place, and we've been really responsive to the data and the formative data that we're collecting to ensure, we want them to do it at high rates of fluency, but we also want to make sure their skills are solid. So we're trying to be really responsive that way.
thank you. At second grade, I just want to point out, I know the second grade team has looked at this, they look very closely at how many students are accurate, how many kids they need to kind of regroup, and now that they're becoming accurate at that word level, work on their fluency. But then they also are really doing hard work at Franklin on getting kids into connected text and what that looks like to apply beyond the word level and that fluency. And I think you see that in their A reading going from 50% to 59%. They see a little bit more movement in the way kids are applying that reading, which I know is a celebration for them. And our 8th graders are at 87%. They're the highest in the middle school and in the district, and that group of kids in particular needed a celebration, and that's been a big one for them this winter. So I know their building kind of made a big deal out of that. So just hope those 8th graders look look at you guys, you're the highest in the district in your fluency proficiency rate, as you should be, as you end. You should be at one of the top as you end. This is the last that we get that assessment, so they're kind of celebrating that. Don't have to do it after one more time, and look where you're at. Okay, and if you scroll down, then our math data, fast math is one that I feel like until this particular school year, we were giving the screening without necessarily the tools to think about what we should do to respond to the data. I mean, we had some things here or there, but it was really piecing things together. And Annie Carpenter, I just have to sell her phrases here, has worked really hard with our teams. If you recall, way back in last year when we had two extra snow days, we did makeup and we did some professional learning. One of the things that we did on that 2 days in June 7th and 8th was a project on the numeracy project, or a training on the numeracy project, which is really how to look at data like this and then respond and think about, we're really good about talking about that sequence of learning and literacy for kids. And if they have this skill in phonics, what comes next? But math, it seems more segmented, and we just didn't necessarily have the tools to think about that progression of learning in number sense. That numeracy project has been huge for our teams, and Annie continues to meet with the collaborative teams, K-8, and look at, here's what your data says, here's routines that can respond, here are interventions for small groups of kids, and when they reach this level, this is the next intervention. And we see that second and third we latched onto and kind of got going first with numeracy project at Franklin, and they saw some more growth kid by kid, especially second grade, just really took off there. And middle schools looking at what's that look like to incorporate into their labs and into their impact too. So we're excited by the work that Annie has been doing with our teams and how this data is becoming more meaningful to them in the ways that we respond. Where we're at, and again, we screen in spring. So the coach at Meredith Stroh and I were just reflecting, she's like, we're in a sweet spot. It's a great time right now to dig in and get some good learning before spring break, and then come back and
Jill, do you know historically across the state, because I remember before with FAST, sometimes across the state in fall to winter, it kind of dips and then it goes back up, and other grade levels, it's not. So do you know what that looks like? What would this compare to?
I'd say this looks pretty close to our normal winter data. We want it to be better. One of those things we keep working on, because it is, the benchmarks that they have to meet are usually kind of like an arc. So if you think about the trajectory for a school year, you would think it would be, well, kids just, truck along on a straight line moving up. But the benchmarks they ask them to meet is actually a little bit more like an arc. Like they have to get a little bit higher in winter, and then they look, and the benchmark is not quite as high on a straight line in spring. The data that stands out to us, though, I think is that K1. We were surprised by some of those pieces and just thinking, okay, what do we need to do to reflect? The other data pieces seem, like I said, second grade is a little low, but that accuracy looks about like ours usually trucks along, and they know they have to be accurate first. So for the most part, it seems similar to our normal that we're always working to improve. Scott's not here either.
One of the best things to think about PLC model is if there's data that doesn't meet our expectations, instead of being viewed as a negative, it's viewed as a challenge and a motivator now. It's not hidden or swept under the rug. It's let's reflect on it and make a plan to get better. I've seen a lot of progress in that in the 4.5 years that I've been on the board. And it just turns into a team effort and ways to make it better and make sure we meet that expectation next time. So I really appreciate the reports, and I appreciate the progress that we've made there. And I look forward to seeing the next one.
Thank you.
So on to number 6, SBRC SWVP enrollment increase. I'm guessing this is Mitch or Julie.
Well, yeah, so this is actually something that they have allowed us to do as a result of the impact they expect. We across the state expected an increase in our preschool enrollment, so they allowed us to ask for more authority. While we didn't see the increase we'd like, and it's fairly nominal there, you can see an increase of $3,600. I think it's important that we go ahead and ask for that, because we anticipate we'll continue to have that. So if they can see from the state's perspective that this is something that would be beneficial to us, I'd like to be able to demonstrate that, because we do have, I mean, it was 1 for us. That's what that equals, 1 student greater than what we would have had. But had it been 20, you can see the impact would have been greater. So it just gives us the more authority. So we just would like that to have us improve the ability to go and ask for that extra authority.
I'll move that the SBRC, SWVP enrollment increase amount of $3,613.50 be forwarded to the state.
Second.
The motion and a second. Any further questions? We need to read that motion, or is the motion sufficient, Mitch?
That's fine. I just pass it.
Okay, all those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. On to number 7, high school course handbook.
John's back up.
Oh, great.
All right, so first, thank you for approving us to use this before getting the full ride. Appreciate that. It was linked in there. Has everyone had a chance? We're gonna do a little go through, but has everyone had a chance to see it? Maybe we won't.
I didn't touch anything.
Uh-oh.
Go.
There we go.
All right. So a couple of things we focused on. We organized all the courses by subject. So if you click on that, Mitch, it brings up all of our options. So when kids were sitting in the Commons and Megan was going through course offerings, they were able to look through here and say they're looking for their math courses. They can click on math courses and it brings up the math offerings we have for next school year. They can click on those and it has introduction to the class and a description. Talks about if there are prerequisites, when it's going to be offered. Just not connected to this presentation, we would like to continue to expand this because we think it's such a great database. We'd like to have instructors, classrooms, things like that added, but that's down the line. It's not, I feel like the team did a great job putting this together in a short time and having a quality product, which is a big piece for me. I didn't want to put something out there that wasn't great. The college class information. So if you just click on the top part there. So what Levi was able to do, which is genius. So when you click on the navigation links up top here in the light gray, it takes you to a landing page. So like college class information, it takes you to the first one, which is concurrent enrollment courses. We really tried to be intentional with all of those kind of navigational features so that if a student goes and clicks college class information, it's the first page it's going to land on is concurrent enrollment courses, because that's probably the most common thing they're going to be searching for when they click on that tab. It also has all the other options for them: advanced placement, career academies, college athletic eligibility, all the things they would need that fit underneath that option. If you just click on general course information over there, Mitch, to the right, this is it has some things that students will need while in high school: graduation requirements, physical education waiver, secondary class load, and weighted GPA. Again, we were really intentional about the landing page. When you click on general course information, what's the first thing kids are probably going to be looking for? The graduation requirements. So that's our landing page when you click on that site. We didn't want students getting lost in the navigational issues or barriers to keep them from accessing the information they needed. So we really tried to be intentional, and often I talk about things that I'd like to see, and there's no like real life options for that. And so I appreciate Levi putting this together and providing everything we needed for our kids. I don't think there's anything that we weren't able to get in here that we wanted. I can't think of anything else we talked about adding other than kind of the teacher information. Eventually, like if you go courses by subject and you click on Excel, or no, not Excel, CTE courses, you can see the CTE courses here. I could see us adding another document or another landing page in here that provided the pathways or organized the pathways, but that's all information that Megan and Brian go through with students. And so it's not necessary to be on here, but it might be a nice to have in the future. Any questions about the course handbook?
That was very good. I was very, very pleased with how it came out. You guys did a great job. I'm working on it. this is just an example of where our parents, if they want to, can go to and find the information they want about their high school kids and their courses. So we already have that for our parents. We'll need others telling us it's here. Parents can use it. I thought it was very user-friendly too. I could easily navigate and find out a synopsis of every subject for every course. Some of the courses where it showed up in 2 different areas.
Yep.
Ag classes showed up a couple different places. I was very impressed with it. Thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you. Yeah, all that work goes to Levi. You did a great job. I do think we'll continue to add things. You made me think of that, Dr. Milhouse, about SRG information. We could eventually add student handbooks, things like that to this. I think it's a great resource for us to continue to expand on, just for students to have a landing place for those things.
And having the list of the instructors, someplace with a picture of the instructor, something like that would be great information to have too. So this is a great start. Levi, thank you very much for your work. Don, all the others involved.
Thank you.
So we need a motion to approve this handbook.
Yep. I'll move to approve this
I
catalog.
thought you might after your comments there. Is there a second?
Second.
And move, I got a motion and a second. Any further questions?
Stay there, stay there.
Hearing none, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 3.08, 30 agreement.
Hello, everyone. So in working with an after prom group of parents, they are working in conjunction with the Kiwanis group to provide our post-prom experience. We were talking about fundraising and what makes the most sense for that group in kind of a shorter timeline. And so most of you know, I think y'all know, I was an activities director at Des Moines North for the past 4 years. And one fundraiser we used last year was 30 Pop. And so what it is it's essentially a crowdsourced sort of idea. Students are given a sheet of paper and they're asked to collect a certain amount of contacts. They're encouraged to reach out to people that aren't in their area, and they have phone numbers and emails. And what 30 Pop does is puts together kind of this form and sends a message out to those contacts asking just for a simple donation to support whatever your ask is. And then in this case, it would be post-prom. When I was first pitched this idea, the guy's name is Chad. At Des Moines, I was like, this is not gonna work. People want something for their contribution. And based on the experience I had last year, that's just not true. A family member in Michigan who gets a text from little Johnny, all they want to do is give $20 to support and provide an after prom experience for Johnny. They don't care if they get a pie or a popcorn ball or anything like that. All those things are great. Sometimes people just want an opportunity to give $10 to $50 to support somebody that's in another state. And so we saw a ton of success with this. We're asking to have this approved to use with after prom. I'm not asking for anything other than that. I don't, but I think it's a great opportunity for kids. They don't have to handle money. They don't have to take folders around. They don't have to stand outside Sam's Club and 10-degree negative wind chill or whatever it was yesterday. And so I think it's a great opportunity for us to allow students to raise money to provide a great post-prom experience for this April. Any questions?
And are the Kiwanis still going to help with the post-prom?
They're going to help set up I'm missing the word, the casino experience. Is that right? They're going to set that up the night of.
And it's being held where?
It'll be in the comments.
In the comments.
Is this program similar to like the PTO thing, that the golden ticket thing going around, or is that a completely different scenario?
I'm not familiar with that one.
This is exactly the same company. Chad's our guy too. We just made $30,000.
Oh, so it's the exact same thing.
Exact same thing.
Chad does a great job. Our girls soccer team last year raised over $10,000. Typically, our smaller programs raised anywhere from $2,000 to $3,000 with 10 to 20 kids. bringing in contacts. And so my plan will be, if it's approved, to have the junior class get a presentation from Chad, bring in their contacts and send information out to those people. And I anticipate our goal would be $4,000 to $5,000. It doesn't take more money than that to run a successful post-prom.
Any other questions? Otherwise, I think we need a motion.
I move to accept the 30 pop challenge.
Yeah, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Like second.
Motion and a second. Any further questions or discussion? All those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 9, category 1 and 2 E-rate bids.
Are you or Levi talking about this?
Levi, do you want to come speak with me? So as most of you board members know, we do get funding from E-rate. Category 1 is for internet service, and then category 2 is for equipment and hardware. So this year, Levi went out to bid for both categories. Do you want to present?
Sure. So this is money from the FCC that schools and libraries apply for annually. We got bids from both ICN and MediaCom for internet service. ICN is who we currently have. That's the Iowa Communications Network for the state. ICN is very slightly more expensive than MediaCom's bid, but all of our experience with ICN has been very positive. We've also got a lot of infrastructure that would take time to migrate if we were to move to MediaCom. So taking those factors into account, ICN was the one that we chose for the category. And then category 2, we had a couple of different projects that are broken down here. First one was a firewall. So we asked for a specific firewall model. None of the vendors actually bid the one that we asked for. So we chose to not award the firewall bid to any of them and to just purchase it separately. The next one was wireless access points. These are the ones for the new Futures homeschool building. Because this falls within that window when that building should open, we should be able to get those installed. So we've got wireless access points there. These are the Aruba style that we have in all the other buildings in the district. And Oxen was the winner on all of the hardware bids consistently. And then hardware switches. So this is replacing some aging switches across the buildings, and then also the switch for the new Futures homeschool building. Question?
You're happy with the companies that you're,
Yeah.
Oxen we've used in the past, haven't we?
Oxen is a common one we've used. Yep.
and does ICN fall under professional service? So it doesn't, or does it, is it? okay?
This was bidded.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a 3-year contract, so we won't have to do this again next year for the internet service.
The last time we did it was right before COVID, spring before COVID, so.
There wasn't that much of a difference between the two MediaCom and ICN. How much?
MediaCom had a $12,500 setup fee, so add that in there, then ICN was way under.
Okay, so.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure we're following state rules.
Yeah.
Fine.
We had that vetted through the attorney too, so.
Okay, thank
I've
you.
been talking to other districts, almost all of them keep ICN as their primary. Some of them have secondary service that they pay for outside of E-rate funding, so they've got a backup option. E-rate funding will not pay for a secondary connection, so that's something we should think about at some point in the future. But we're good with this.
Move to accept the category 1 and 2 E-rate bids.
Motion, is there a second?
What was the motion?
To accept the bids.
Okay, both of them?
Mhm.
Okay,
All of them. Category 1 and 2.
okay, I'll second that.
And then second, further discussion or questions? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks. Number 10, Grandwood SBRC admin costs.
So this SBRC gives us the opportunity to use special education dollars to pay for the administrative costs. And so this one is for Grandwood for $2,647.90. Next agenda item will be the same thing for a different organization. Again, it's just giving us the authority. And so we're recommending approval.
We do these annually.
Mhm.
There are no questions. I'd entertain a motion.
I will move that we authorize the special ed dollars to pay for the administrative costs of Grandwood in the amount of $2,647.90.
Been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 11, Academy Day School SBRC admin costs.
Same thing. The amount's similar as well, $2,633.18. We again recommend approval for the authority.
To accept the bid at $2,633.18 for the payment. SBRC.
So we have a motion for the Academy Day School SBRC admin costs. Is there a second?
Second.
Just for clarification here, the Grandwood, that is run by the Woodward Granger School District, am I correct? And then the one below Academy Day Care, that's the.
They both are, they're the
both are.
consortium.
Mhm. But they're still different entities.
Yeah.
Okay. but would-
Same district though.
Same but different.
Same but different.
Okay, I think we had a motion and a second, right?
Yep.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 12, COVID-19 vaccination testing policies.
We're recommending approval of the deletion of these policies that do not appear to be needed anymore.
Can we do all these at one time or do they need to
We
be?
should be able
Yeah,
to
just
delete
one
them all at
motion.
once. Yep.
Okay.
I would move to approve the deletion of the COVID-19 vaccination policies.
Have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further questions or discussions?
Hopefully we don't need them again. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yes,
Keep a copy of them though. Just in case.
understood.
Okay, all those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Number 13, Board Policy 407.3, voluntary early retirement.
So these would be options to consider for retirement, early retirement for the 22-23 school year. So not this school year, but the upcoming school year. And in your packet, you have both the current voluntary early retirement. Is that the current one that you have up there
Yep.
right now?
Yep, and the only change would be oh, wait,
That's the new one.
that's the new one, never mind.
Yeah, you got to go to the current
Yeah.
one.
The only change that they request the attorney is to put in what school year it is for.
Mhm.
So that gives the board the option to make changes as needed, so.
Right. But,
so-
but the current policy had a possibility of being able to receive an early retirement cash stipend equal to 20% of the regular salary for the current contract year and not to exceed 15,000 is our current policy. And you go ahead and move to the new one
Yeah,
that I'm proposing is that we would increase that to be equal to 25% of the employee's regular salary with an additional $100 per day per unused sick leave for a total benefit not to exceed $35,000. I am of the belief that it should be a true incentive. We call it an early retirement incentive. I think it should be an incentive. And we will have ample opportunity to be able to fund any early retirements that would take advantage of this with what we have budgeted thus far for Next year, management fund is what pays for this, not the general fund. So I think that's important to note. And one of the reasons that I would want to move forward with a proposal for early retirement for next school year is they did just announce today that 2.5% is what the legislature is putting on the governor's desk for increases as far as money coming into the schools. It is very likely that we will need to have more expenditures than that percentage. So we're anticipating kind of a tight year next year, and this would maybe help alleviate some of the pain we might feel next year by offering an early retirement opportunity to our staff. So I feel that it would be beneficial to both the district and to our employees. And I also very much like the concept of being able to attain some funding from unused sick leave. That's one thing that we've heard from associations previously, that it feels like, gosh, we don't use them, then we just kind of lose them. It's a way to kind of honor the fact that they've earned that and in their early retirement package. So that's one of the reasons I'm making that recommendation.
So this is, what we're proposing would be the teachers would teach all this year and all next.
Year.
So it's really not gonna help so much for, our budget's gonna be tight next year.
Next year's gonna be tight, but it'll help us the following year.
Following year will help, but yeah, next year it's not gonna help as much because
Yeah,
2.5 is not gonna be
no,
nearly enough to cover us this year,
correct.
unfortunately. At least the
We'll have a tight year, but
Senate came up to 2.5%.
Yeah. I guess my questions are, I mean, yes, I'm for this, but do we feel we are going to have enough applicants to fill, and how many people do you think are going to be retiring? I mean,
We're going to have,
number of people leaving the teaching field and the amount of people available. So
that's a fair question.
next year, we'll have 11 eligible teachers
Mhm.
who can take that. We also reach out to a lot of other schools, probably over, I think 20 applied
Mhm.
on a survey, and they range from 8,000 to 50,000 or percentage of pay. So as we are increasing ours, it's definitely not the highest by far.
No, but I think to your point of, do we feel that we'll be able to replace? We do feel the positions that are going to be open. We have that ability.
Yeah.
Teaching in general is hard to fill, I guess, but I think that of those that will be eligible, they are a better outlook than maybe some years with some of the positions that could take place, but
I believe in past years when the board has done this, we've set a limit as far as the number of teachers total that could do it, or put a cap as far as the amount that we were going to spend. We did something like that. I can't remember which one, but I think we've done different things in the past.
I know school districts that have done that.
But our management fund that would take care of this is pretty healthy, isn't it?
Right.
Yes.
And we have on here, the final decision would be up to the board.
Right.
We will review the budget next Monday morning and next Monday evening.
Mhm.
And we can definitely handle this even if all 11 would retire. So,
Mhm. Funding wise, we can.
yeah,
Mhm.
funding's not an issue.
Okay.
But I feel your concern about every other headline you see is
Mhm.
teacher
shortage.
burnout.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Burnout. Yeah, burnout.
I know it's probably,
Well, another reason, no, this wouldn't be for next year. So that's the other thing is hopefully if we can gain another year, that might help us buy another year of time to attain more staffing as well.
When would the district be notified of these employees that could potentially take this incentive?
They would have to tell the board by
November.
December 1st, and then December board meeting of next year, you guys will approve it.
So very early on in the hiring cycle.
Oh, yeah.
That's standard. That's what we've done past years.
So we'd know right away.
I think one year we moved it to January because there was some snow vacations or something, but done this about every other year when I've been on the board. And usually find out early December.
That's another reason we're wanting to put it forward to you right now, though, is that if there are interested parties, it's likely that they'll share with us that they're considering that, and it'll tell us even earlier than the date, the deadline, to have an idea of what kind of impact it's going to have for us too, so. But the deadline's December 1.
Move to accept option 2 of the early retirement,
We have a
voluntary early retirement
we have
plan.
a motion on the table. Is there a second?
Second.
Further discussion?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, of these 11 potential eligible employees, would it be considering hiring 11 for 11, basically, if all 11 did? At this point, are the 11 positions we'd refill? 11 of those or not?
That's something we would always examine.
Sure.
So I think that would be dependent upon the position.
When we do this,
There's some that we would not potentially.
when we do this is you hope that you take the teachers that are retiring, they're gonna be our higher level
Yeah, I get that.
teachers and then hopefully be able to replace a teacher that's $80,000 or $85,000 a year with someone that.
But to your point, for example, if we had a retirement at a level where we had a much smaller enrollment, like we have a small year where COVID really hit us. And it happened to be in a place that we wouldn't then not have to riff someone, or we would, we could simply let attrition occur, then we would take advantage of that opportunity.
And then I was gonna ask too, what made us fall in the 25%, I guess, as far as,
I wanted,
said we're not the highest, but we're not obviously the
Yeah.
lowest on that, I guess. Where did we?
Well, we kind of came up with the formula and we played around for like a half an hour just to see and
Figured you did something
Julie
we
likes-
expect. I didn't think you just threw a dart at the board. I just was asking, more curious on.
Julie really favored the effect of the sick leave to kind of give them the option to earn more than if they were to take all their leaves. So that's kind of how we got 25. 35 kind of pushed it higher, or 30 did. So
Mhm.
it was kind of about, if somebody's at the bottom, I forget what it was. I think the max sick leave is 7,000 and then 20 some for the salary.
14,000,
So
I thought, but that's okay.
I thought it was 40 days. a day.
yeah.
Be
14,000. Yeah,
14,000.
we have to.
Yeah, you'd have 14,000,
Yeah.
but I just wanted it to be enough of an an actual incentive, not just, oh, that's nice. I feel like a retirement incentive should be an actual incentive, and so I felt like we needed to at least hit that to get there, in my opinion.
I would agree with that. I saw a personal experience on somebody who's retiring in a different district, and
Mhm.
multiple times they've pitched this. It has not gone through. And how, I guess, you put that many years of service into the school district and tell you get these days, but then never able to use some of those days that I'm not against. I like that it's in there for sure. I just
think it pays homage to the fact that they earn those days and they're getting something for them. And they've dedicated, a lot of these individuals have dedicated their lives to this district. And so you just really want to make sure that you're honoring with an actual system that would be respectful of that.
And is it common to have close to that many days when they retire?
They can carry over 125 and then they get 15. So if they have their max.
If you look
We would
at,
have several that would
I
have.
mean,
that.
having those teachers teaching our kids is a benefit, but not
Yes.
having to pay a sub is also I don't know, what are we, 135 or 100?
135.
So I mean, it shows that we appreciate them being here, and financially it makes sense too. Give an
Mhm.
incentive to pay those out.
Mhm.
All right. Thanks for the question.
Clarification, was that motion to approve the first reading or just for the policy to have first reading next month?
This requires more than one reading, so
Correct.
Oh, it's a policy.
Yep,
the first reading.
first reading. Okay.
Resecond that, or is it okay?
I seconded it, didn't I?
Friendly amendment.
Okay.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, aye?
Happy roll. Call. Policy.
Since it's a reading, does it have to be roll call, Mitch?
Policy updates. I mean, we can if you want.
We'll do roll call.
Okay. Alphon,
yes.
Teven,
Yes.
Dr. Melhouse. Yep. Richard,
Yes.
Dr. Nystrom, gone.
Well, you started off, motion carries. You started off the series of roll call votes, so. we'll get
That's
it.
right. Might as well just keep going.
Get warmed up. Okay, number 14, resolution, I'll let you.
Yeah, I'm gonna have Mitch go it because 14 through 18, I believe, are gonna be
Yeah.
similar. So you want to go ahead and
Yep.
explain those real quick?
So 14 is a resolution to set the public hearing for the issuance of the sales tax bond for the Homeschooling Futures Building. Last couple meetings, if you remember, we passed the authority to bond for it. Now this is the proceedings to actually process the bond. So propose on the 6:30, March 24th, March 24th in the high school library.
Any questions? Otherwise, we'll entertain a motion.
I'd move to approve the resolution fixing the date of a hearing on the proposed issuance of approximately $6.3 million school infrastructure sales service and use tax revenue bonds. I need to keep going, or is that?
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Mitch, roll call, please.
Elfon,
Yes.
Dr. Malhouse,
Yep.
Stephen,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Dr. Nystrom absent. Number 15, these next four items are for the sale of the refunding of the general obligation fund. So remember last few months ago, we refunded general obligation note and then we issued the high school gym and HVAC overage. So these are just the proceedings for the closeout of it. So this is appointing the paying agent, registrar, transfer agent as UMB Bank as our other bonds.
Anybody ready to make a motion on number 15?
I move to approve the resolution appointing paying agent, bond registrar, and transfer agent, approving the paying agent, bond registrar, and transfer agent agreement, and authorizing the execution of same for the general obligation refunding.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Mitch, roll call, please.
Elfon,
Yes.
Dr. Malhouse,
Yes.
Stephen,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Dr. Nystrom absent.
Number 16, Mitch.
Approval of tax exempt certificate. This is just another common action item, tax exempt form. We will put it on file and so is our finance. So
Okay, I will move to approve the form tax exemption certificate to be placed on file and approved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Further questions, discussion? Roll call, please.
Elfon,
Yes.
Dr. Malhouse,
Yes.
Stephen,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Dr. Nystrom absent.
Number 17.
Approval of continuing disclosure certificate, same as a tax exempt certificate kept on file for the refunding.
I move to approve the continuing disclosure certificate to be placed on file and approved.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Further questions or discussion? Hearing none. Mitch, roll call, please.
Elfon,
Yes.
Dr. Malhouse,
Yes.
Stephen,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Dr. Nystrom absent.
Number 18.
So this is the motion to authorize the paying of that bond and then levying the payment after, which is already built into our tax rate. So it's just paying for it.
Yeah, I'll move to approve the resolution authorizing the issuance of general obligation school refunding bond series 2022 in the amount of $5,755,000, levying a tax for the payment thereof.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Further questions, discussion? Roll call, please.
Elfon,
Yes.
Dr. Malhouse,
Yes.
Stephen,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Dr. Nystrom absent.
Number 19.
All right, 19 through 22 is pretty much the same thing, but this is for the save issue for the high school gym and the HVAC overage. So the first one is naming UMB Bank as paying agent, bond registrar, and transfer agent as our rest of our issues.
Okay, entertain a motion.
I'd move to approve the resolution approving paying agent, bond registrant, and transfer agent, approving the paying agent, bond registrar, and transfer agent agreement, and authorizing execution of same.
The motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Further questions or discussion? Mitch, roll call, please.
Alfon,
Yes.
Dr. Milhouse,
Yes.
Stephen,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Dr. Nystrom absent.
Okay, number 20.
Same as last issue, tax exempt certificate approved and placed on file.
I move to approve the form tax exempt certificate to be placed on file and approved for the high school gym.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any questions? Mitch, roll call, please.
Alfon,
Yes.
Dr. Milhouse,
Yes.
Stephen,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Dr. Nystrom absent.
Number 21.
This is same as before, continuing disclosure certificate, save on file.
Yeah, I will move to approve the continuing disclosure certificate to be placed on file and approved.
There's a
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions? Mitch, roll call, please.
Alfon,
Yes.
Dr. Milhouse,
Yes.
Stephen,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Dr. Nystrom absent.
All right, number 22.
This is the authorization for the payment of the bond for our sales tax for our high school gym and the HVAC overage.
Would move to approve the resolution authorizing and providing for the terms of issuance and securing the payment of $2,970,000 school infrastructure sales, service and use revenue bonds, series 2022A of the Boone Community School District, State of Iowa, under the provisions of chapter 423E and 423F of the Code of Iowa, and providing for a method of payment of said bonds.
Nice job, Matt. Second.
Second.
You got a water.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions? Mitch, call the roll, please.
Alfon,
Yes.
Dr. Milhouse,
Yes.
Stephen,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Dr. Nystrom absent.
All right. Got through those. Number 23, construct change order CO 01.
So this is something you like to see. It's a change order because it's a savings. So, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and.
Yeah, so we received a change order from Construct. They did not have to use some over excavation and rock and chemicals that they thought they would. So it's a change order to reduce our phase one bid package, which was $247 down to $215. So savings of $31,780.
Move to accept the recommended approval of the change order from Construct for $31,780.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any questions? It's nice to start off with a little good news on the.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Thank you for saving us $30.
All those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, motion carries. Number 24, Graybaugh change order CR 002.
So this one is actually for a cost increase, but it was for building insulation. And part of the reason was because we had to delay, if you recall, we had to delay our approval. So anytime you delay in this day and age, costs go up. So it went up by $4,000. So $4,347.44. So that's what this change order is for.
Questions or a motion?
I move to approve the change order CR 002 for increased costs of installation of $4,347.44 to Graybaugh.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Further questions or discussion? All those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Number 25, change order requests.
So this is something that I said we probably needed to discuss at the board table is outside of construction. I have the approval to make purchases up to $25,000. The question is whether you as a board would like to get every single change order for the next four projects that we have going on, or if you would like to be able to give me the ability to approve change orders that are under the $25,000 mark like we have for other expenses. So I just felt that it would be worth now, as we're at the very beginning and we've already had 2 change orders. And I mean, we are at the very beginning, that maybe we want to talk about how would you like to proceed? Would you like every single change order to come before you, or would you like me to approve some of them to relieve the number that you receive?
I have no problems with you approving less than 25,000, we could just get a list of that each month.
Absolutely.
And like either executive content, or it could just be in the
In my report.
consent agenda or your report,
Or the-
someplace that shows how much we've approved them up, down, or something like that. But
Mhm.
for us to have to approve every individual one, I think we'd be spending a lot of excess time here.
Mhm.
If it's something questionable, you can probably bring it to
Well, and that's,
board anyway.
and that's what I would say is if there is something that I'm not sure that I want to sign off on, and even if it's under the 25,000, I would bring it to the board anyway. But I just, when we had two and we haven't really even started yet, I thought we might want to have that conversation now. So
I will move to authorize Superintendent Tripa to approve change orders under $25,000 with her reporting the total amount of change order, the individual change orders at the end of the month of school board meeting, or at the monthly school board meeting.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion or questions? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 26, construction and inspections.
So we're recommending tenfold's recommendation to contract with Allender, how do you say that?
Let's key.
Ski engineers for the special inspections for the high school gym remodel and HVAC and futures and HSAP projects. So those are all special inspections that need to take place. So we're recommending approval.
This is a company that did pre-inspections for all the projects, so that's why they're recommending it. They're also the company that inspected the high school to see if that roof,
If it could handle the roof
Yeah.
being raised.
so they already have they're pretty in our files already, so.
I move to recommend approval of Tenfold's recommendation to contract with Alexander Butsky Engineers for the special inspections with the high school gym remodel, high school HVAC upgrades, and the futures HSAP building project.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
And moved and seconded. Any further questions? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 27, Ayers and Cooney engagement letter.
Yeah, we're just recommending approval that Allers and Cooney be the attorneys that would take care of the two sales tax issues
Yeah, I'll recommend.
just talked about.
I'll recommend for approval of the two engagement letters with Alias Cooney for the two sales tax issuances this year that were discussed earlier.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further questions? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 28, DLR contract amendment.
So this is an amendment to DLR's contract so that they can add the construction of the road to their contract. So that's what that document is a contract for the construction of the road, and I'd recommend approval.
So the city's architects, they did not want to participate.
The city's architects are
Engineers.
our engineers are part of this.
They're part of this
They're
project.
part of
SCH and
this.
DLR.
SCH and DLR will be the two, yeah, SCH is the engineering firm that will be working on it, and same as city engineers.
Okay.
And then DLR as the architects.
I'll move to approve the contract amendment for the construction of the road with DLR Group.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. And any further questions? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 29, building project updates.
So we had said we'd have the building projects updates, but we just did a lot of motions on a lot of the building project updates. So I don't know that I have anything new from the last month and anything that wasn't already an agenda item, but we said it would be a standing discussion item. So if there are questions, this is a good time to ask them.
Reconstruction for the big project went really well, I thought. Everybody's excited about it.
Yes, the pre-construction for the elementary school, Autumn was especially excited about that. We had that pre-construction meeting, and as of right now, I mean, things are rolling along. I mean, we haven't really started, but it's all on time, which is a good thing. I think at SIAC, something that was brought up that I would point out, we have some members on SIAC that also happen to be neighbors of the new elementary school that had commented that they have been pleased with the cleanup of the road thus far. I mean, realizing that we've pretty much only done dirt work thus far, they were really impressed with the work that was done, that our Lane Construction and the other entities have been working on the area, that they are very careful to make sure that Hancock gets cleaned up and it's not left a mess. So I was happy to hear that, because I don't live there. And so that's been very important to us. And that was emphasized again at the pre-construction meeting, is how we want to make sure we are attending to our neighbors' needs and trying to make sure that that goes as smoothly as possible. So that's probably the only other thing that I would say.
I would just ask, just the transition with the road and everything, and that process is coming along okay, I assume, and the expense side is how we're gonna stomach all that. And then I guess that other piece of property you've kind of talked about, kind of where we're at with that whole.
Yeah, so we actually will likely be, that's on the next item when we have our special board meeting next week. We're hoping to have before you the land that needs to be purchased for the connection of Hancock to Corporal Snedden. That'll be something that you'll be approving next week. And
That's the goal.
And that's the goal anyway, and it went very well. And meeting with that landowner, that went extremely well. And a big piece was getting this contract from DLR on the books so that we can continue to keep moving. Honestly, a lot of the conversation has been more about stormwater and making sure we're adhering to those pieces that we had agreed to when we purchased land and with regard to stormwater. So that's been more of the focus than anything, just making sure we get that contract in place so that we can get moving on the rest of the road. It's a good question. Any other questions about the projects?
Yeah, I guess I do have one real quick question. Have we talked about a name for the new building?
So we have not yet. So it's a matter of when we want to start that conversation, if we want to start it this spring or if we want to start it in the fall, because we have a couple of places to name. We need to name the building that will be built on the old weed patch, and we have the new elementary school that we need to name. So we have a couple of different
How
buildings
does that
that need to
work?
be
People
named.
ask me, I don't know any idea how you decide the name of a school.
So I would like to elicit ideas first, and then we'll likely have committees that will narrow down the choices and then put like the top, I would imagine the top three, probably two or three to determine, kind of get some more input from the community and the board.
Yeah, that's what
Ultimately have to decide.
Mhm.
Just wondering.
So really, whenever we want, yeah, I was thinking fall, but I am open to
It's just
earlier.
exciting to think
It
about.
is exciting to think about. It is. Once we start seeing it go up. So something else I shared probably at SIAC is that we have a camera set up already on the elementary site. So as soon as we start building, people will be able to see that construction, much like they were able to see the construction here at the high school. I know that was something that people really enjoyed, and we're going to continue that with the elementary school. We haven't gotten a camera up for the Futures and HSAT building, but there's already a camera at the elementary site.
Thank you.
Yeah. So likely, maybe a good spot for the change orders will be this projects update too. So that would be a good spot to put that in when we were talking about that.
So anything in your superintendent's report?
Yeah, so in the superintendent's report, just, we're going to have a special board meeting on the 21st. We need to purchase that land. And there's a couple of small items.
We have to
Right.
get our annual Chromebooks,
Yes.
really short supply. So
Mhm.
we're getting at it a little early this year to make sure we have them before school's out.
Just with the way supply and demand is working right now. And then just a reminder that we have our budget planning meeting. It'll be on the same day. It'll be like right after that. So at 5:15, we'll do our budget planning meeting. And then I just wanted to make sure that everyone was aware that our board president received an award recently from Modern Woodman that we're very proud of, that he was named Hometown Hero. So I wanted to make sure people knew that. And I know he would never do that for himself. So I just want to say that it's nice that we have a hometown hero on the board.
And he donated the money to the Booster Club. So
Yes, he did. So I just wanted to point that out.
Booster Club banquet is this Saturday night.
Yeah, the Booster Club banquet is this Saturday night. So hope to see everyone there.
I would have one follow-up question for Jeremy. I know, do you want to hit on the STEM night that happened last week? I thought it was a huge success. I know as a family, they got to go and attend that. I mean, and to have the meal as well. I think they posted or whatever, was 400 and some meals were served, and just how great it was, the amount of turnout of families within our district to go up and down, and the staff and the volunteers that came to help on that. Just how awesome of a thing that was, I think.
Kid's favorite.
You know, so I think his favorite one was the conservation one.
That was real.
But I saw, we were not very good, me or my wife, figuring out which animals those were, guessing the skins, the mouths, whatever, I guess. But yeah, it was really cool.
Andy.
I appreciate you sharing that because we actually had a conversation about STEM night today about how we want to continue for next year. Something that we were pretty purposeful about was trying to bring in some of those careers as well. It's just like the career fair at the high school, but do that at the elementary level in addition to the STEM piece. And we talked about how full it was and, you know, maybe potentially moving it to a district-wide event, perhaps. We're toying with some ideas and we've received some feedback from staff on some ideas. We were short volunteers on serving some of the meals, but definitely.
Here at the high school.
It was at, it was at Franklin.
Franklin.
The STEM night was at Franklin. So
I thought maybe they might need to open up that other hallway and only have half as many down one hallway because everybody was just so excited. And everybody was smiling, everybody.
yeah, which
really
is
neat.
fantastic. It was it's exciting to hear the kids talk about it even after, because that's something that was shared with me today, was just how that has continued. Even though STEM night's done, the conversations have continued. So that I appreciate you bringing up STEM night as well, because yeah, we were happy to have it because last year we didn't get to do STEM night. So it was nice to have it back and in full force and looking to expand upon it. So yeah.
Great turnout it appeared, and the stuff were great too. And
It was.
And I see that our principals are going to be gone for the rest of this week, or?
Not all of them, just some of them they're the ones that are going to the High Reliability Schools Conference in San Antonio. So that's half are there and half are here. So we've got coverage. So yeah. And then I am at AASA on Thursday and Friday for the superintendent's conference, where I'm also graduating because we didn't have that last year. So yeah, so I will be gone those 2 days, but I will be back. I fly back in Saturday afternoon. As long as I don't get stuck in Chicago, I will be at the Booster Club banquet. So just hope that Chicago's nice to me, please. So yeah.
Anything else?
Move to adjourn.